Welcome to Sports Corner with Ralph Williams and Smokin' Jim Frazier. And now here's your host, Ralph Williams and Smokin' Jim Frazier.
All right, good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Sports Corner show with me, Ralph Williams, and my co-host by phone there, Smokin' Jim Frazier. Smokin' Jim, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks, Ralph. I can't wait for this one.
All right, Smokin' Jim, and today we are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, X. We are also live on the new Kick Network, and we're also live on the Huddle Sports Network as well. So please don't forget to tune in on all those networks. And also these shows starting in August. Starting in the next week or two. A lot of my shows are going to be put on the website, www.rwmediaproductions.com. I have to update the website. I have not done that because I've been too busy moving. And those of you who don't know, we are in the new Studio 10 here in Berlin, Maryland, right outside of Ocean City, Maryland. So there we are there with that. And let me get where I need to be here. All right. Let me see here. Okay, we're in the Mata Heating and Air Conditioning Studios, 724-2010-500 Mata Heating and Air Conditioning. Please call them today if your air conditioner is on the fits. You may want to give them a call today. That number again, 724-2010-500 Mata Heating and Air Conditioning. They are our studio sponsor, and we're also sponsored by Mike Dotson Realty. Call Mike today, 724-596-1681. Mike Dotson Realty. Call today. All right. Later on at 5 o'clock, we will be here, Smokin' Jim and I. We have the Wrestle Talk show. Today we have a lot to talk about, including Night of Champions. Where does the bloodline go from here? And a whole lot more coming up on the Wrestle Talk show coming up at 5 p.m. All right. Now we are going to go to the phones here. And joining us by phone is Ray FIDEPALDO. Ray, welcome to the program.
Smokin' Jim, Ralph, how you guys doing today?
Good. Ray covers the Pittsburgh Steelers and has been on the show many times. He covers the Steelers for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Ray is here today because of those of you who don't know. But before we get into Ray here real quick, I forgot to get into this segment here. Actually, we'll get into that segment later. Let's get into Ray right now. He's here to talk with us about the Steeler Miami Dolphins trade, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Jalen Ramsey, and the T.J. Watt trade rumors again have started to circulate. All right, Ray, tell us a little bit about this trade. Why was this trade made? What's going on? What happened between Minkah and the Steelers?
Well, Ralph, Minkah was set to count $23 million against the cap in 2025. And as you know, the turnover production just hasn't been there like it was in his first 5 seasons with the team. 2019 through 2022, it was a great run. He was one of the better safeties in the NFL. And it's not like he turned into a bad player, but you're not paying a guy $23 million a year to have one interception. So,
right.
The Steelers weren't seeking to trade Minkah, but they were very open to listening to offers. And when Miami came with the offer of Jonnu Smith, the veteran tight end, and of course, veteran defensive back Jalen Ramsey, they decided that was the best way forward in 2025.
All right. Smokin' Jim, do you have any questions for Ray?
Hey, yeah, Ray. I tell you what, man, we got a tremendous athlete. The Steelers did in Jalen Ramsey. I mean, not only was he a state champion long jumper in high school, but he was All-American, 26-foot long jumper in college. He ran the 4x100 relay at Florida State.
guys like that, a lot of times, Ray, when you're a collegiate track star, the last thing that really leaves you is that speed. So, like a Darrell Green, a Deion Sanders, or Rod Woodson. So, do you think that Jalen Ramsey is a guy that can play into his mid-30s, late 30s because of his track background?
Yeah, I think so. He's now on his fourth team, so you wonder why he has been a little bit well traveled. But Smokin' Jim, as you know, a lot of times, and you mentioned Rod Woodson. Rod did this in the second act of his career after he left the Steelers. He transitioned to free safety, and I think maybe that's part of the equation here with Jalen Ramsey. Darius Slay and Joey Porter Jr. have never played in the slot. Jalen Ramsey can play inside. We all know him as a great outside corner, but he can play inside in the slot, and he can play free safety. So it's going to be interesting to see how they deploy these guys. I do know one thing: you're paying Darius Slay $10 million a year. You're paying Jalen Ramsey. I think it's going to end up being around 19 or 20 a year. You're not going to bench Joey Porter Jr. So those three guys are going to be on the field all the time. For Jalen Ramsey, it's just a matter of what position. Is he going to be in the slot or he's going to be at safety? And that's what we're going to find out in training camp here in about 3 weeks or so.
All right. Also, Ray, I wanted to ask this question here. The tight end that's coming in here is Jonnu Smith. I know that Arthur Smith has to come up with a game plan to add extra tight ends for Aaron Rodgers to pass to, because we really don't have much of a second wide receiver other than DK Metcalf. What is is it the purpose of bringing him in here, stock and pile these tight ends in case we have to go to a 3 or 4 tight end set?
Well, I mean, you can look at it that way, Ralph. There's certainly a much deeper group at tight end with the addition of Smith. But I also think you have to take the label off him. He could play in the slot. They can line him up as a receiver. They could also use him out of the backfield, which he has done occasionally throughout his career. So, to me, I sort of look at him as a versatile chess piece. I think it's going to be up to Arthur Smith to decide how he's going to deploy him. On many occasions, it might be as a traditional tight end, but on many other occasions, it's going to be as a slot receiver, or he's going to be in a different spot. So that's the nice thing about his move. He's a veteran. He can move around the offensive formation, and he's not just pigeonholed into being an inline tight end. And that's the same old true for Pat Freiermuth. He can line up in the slot. The only one traditional tight end who's not going to move much is Darnell Washington, and that's fine. He's your best run blocker. Keep him in the formation. He could do that job. I look for Pat Freiermuth and for Jonnu Smith to move around a lot and to be versatile players in this offense.
All right. Let's see here. Joshua Dorr says, "Hey, Ralph, how are you, Josh? Welcome to the program, Josh. A steady contributor to the program. In the comments sections are wide open. Facebook, I will get to you later on as soon as we're done with Ray's interview here. And our guest today by phone, Ray FIDEPALDO from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. He covers the Steelers. My co-host, Smokin' Jim Frazier, is also by phone as well. Ray, real quick here, or Smokin' Jim, do you have any more questions for Ray? I'm going to ask him another question.
I just got a quick one. Jonnu Smith, when I tell you what, Ray, when you throw him that bubble screen, he got the vision and running ability of a running back, man. It's very impressive. With the addition of him, does this spell the end of Connor Hayward's run with the Steelers?
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, Smokin' Jim. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but how many tight ends are you going to carry? That's a question that we're going to find out in training camp. He is a similar player. The saving grace for Connor Hayward, he's a very good special teams player. So maybe there's a way they can keep him. He's on all of your special teams, and maybe occasionally you do use him within your offense. But yes, I agree with you. I think at the very least, his offensive snaps will be decreased as a result of this acquisition of Smith.
I know this sounds silly, Ray, but let me ask you this question. Is there a competition at long snapper? Keep bringing in long snappers.
I saw that as well. I mean, I've never heard any complaints
Uh,
about Christian Kuntz, so this just sounds like a move where they're going to look at somebody in camp. And listen, sometimes there's injuries and stuff like that. And I think Christian is in his early 30s now, so
right.
maybe you do have to have somebody on call here. But I haven't heard any whispers that they're unhappy with Christian Kuntz.
Yeah, Greg Warren was a good long snapper. In fact, I met him personally one time. He's a great guy. He was a good long snapper during the Bill Cowher era. So I mean, and so I really thought he did well for us. Played for us for some years, and he gave us some great times here as a long snapper. And a long snapper is important. A lot of people don't realize that. But anyway, let's get back to the T.J. Watt rumors again have circulated. What's going on, Ray? I'm sure the Steelers are not going to trade T.J. Watt as much as there's a lot of people out there that want to see this. But there's also a lot that want him to stay. What is the word here right now, the actual word?
Yeah, the Steelers don't want to trade T.J. Watt, Ralph.
Okay.
The only way that it would ever get to that point is if TJ and his representatives go to the Rooneys and say, hey, listen, we are not close on a contract. Maybe the best way to go forward would be, for him to request a trade. And, that's happened many times, but I don't get the sense that we're close to that at this point, to be honest with you. We're still 3 weeks away from training camp, and Ralph, even once training camp starts, you're 5 or 6 weeks away from the season. So there's a lot of time to get a contract done. They are not close now, but I know the Steelers will be working hard to rectify that situation before the season starts.
Ray, I have one more question for you, and then I'll let Smoke and Jim ask you a final question. What is going on here? Are they planning on getting a number 2 receiver with a name, or are we just going into the season with what we have?
Yeah, listen, I think the acquisition of Jonnu Smith probably lessens the likelihood that they still have to go out and get another receiver. I'm not discounting that they still might add someone before training camp. But listen, they like Calvin Austin. They think Calvin Austin is going to be a nice part of the offense. You have Roman Wilson coming back, and they're going to count on him, for more production this year after, he went through the injuries last year. And, I think a lot of people forget about this, but I think it was a little bit before the draft or right after the draft, they signed Robert Woods, and Robert Woods is a veteran who's been around as well. So they have enough receivers to make this work. And, I think they were just in search of an offensive weapon, and I think Smith kind of fills that void.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And they also need to get the weapons around Aaron Rodgers. They need to get the line to make sure he stays clean. I think the Steelers could probably make it this year if they do those things. All right, Smoke and Jim, do you have any more questions for Ray before we let him go?
No, great job as usual, Ray. Appreciate you, buddy.
All
right, guys. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Anytime, Ray. Thank you. Ray FIDEPALDO from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, who was here to tell us in regards to the Steeler-Miami Dolphins trade. Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Dolphins with a, I believe, 2027 fifth-round pick. And to the Dolphins, we get Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, and a fifth-round pick, I believe, in next year's draft from the Miami Dolphins. Smoke and Jim, real quick before we get into our rants, your thought on this trade?
Man, Steelers came out smelling like a rose again. I don't know if it'll add any more wins in the win column.
Yes.
But hey, you got 2 players for one. I miss Minkah already. Minkah Fitzpatrick was a great player, but Jalen Ramsey is a freak of freaks, man. He's been great ever since he was in junior high school. There's talk about him, man. The guy's fast. He was a sprinter in college. He has a 41.5-inch vertical jump. He did that at the combine, Ralph. That's higher than Kobe Bryant only had a 40-inch vertical jump. So when you can jump like that, man, at 6'2", you're a shutdown corner. He's never been big on interceptions. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Ike Taylor, who was a Hall of Fame caliber cover corner, but because of lack of interceptions, he never will make the Hall of Fame. But John New Smith is going to be an outstanding weapon for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So you get two players in exchange for Mika Fitzpatrick. So I give the Steelers the advantage on that trade.
Yes, absolutely. I believe it, and I agree with you 100% on everything that you just said in regards to that. All right, today we're getting ready to do our rant. I'm getting ready to do mine, Ralph's rant. We usually do that at the beginning of the show, and also I wanted to get Ray on here. He was, his schedule was a little bit demanding here, so I only was able to get him on for a few minutes. So, but at least he was here to talk with us about this on this program, which is one great thing here on Sports Corner Show. I am the booking machine. I do book the best guests if I can get them. So we'll go from there. Also, I wanted to tell you later on, 5 o'clock, we have the Wrestle Talk Show with me and Smokin' Jim Frazier. And we will be talking about the Night of Champions pay-per-view, which happened this past Saturday. Oh my gosh, what a pay-per-view. Just a whole thing that went on. We'll talk all about that next hour at 5 o'clock for the Wrestle Talk show. 5 to 5:30, unless we have a guest, we go till 6 o'clock. All right. My rant today is, and it's twofold. Number one, today is Bobby Bonilla Day. Everybody seemed to have forgot about that. I didn't. And you know why? Because every July 1st, I get reminded that it's Bobby Bonilla Day. And those of you who don't know, Bobby Bonilla used to play for the Pittsburgh Pirates at one time during the time in the early 90s when we went to the playoffs. Okay. And to the NFC or the National League Championship Series that we lost to the Braves. All right. So anyway, Bobby Bonilla and his agent, which I think a lot of players wish they had that agent, worked something out with the New York Mets that every year for the next 30 years, he gets $1 million or something to that effect. And every year on July 1st, he gets that. Isn't that wonderful? Well, I think we're into 20 years now, and he only has about 10 left or 15 left. I'm not exactly sure, but I do know today is Bobby Bonilla Day. Happy Bobby Bonilla Day. And I want to send my condolences out to Dave Parker's family. Dave Parker was an integral part of the Pirates back in the 79 World Series. I know a lot of people out there didn't like Dave Parker, was really threw batteries at him, called him Porker and all kinds of other stuff, but he made the All-Star team. He was a great asset to the Pittsburgh Pirates. I was sad to see him getting in the health he was in. At least he was able to make it last year when they put him in the Pirates Hall of Fame as well. And he also is in the Baseball Hall of Fame as well. Dave Parker, rest in peace. You were a very good asset to the city of Pittsburgh and a very good baseball player as well. And this show today is dedicated to my late father, Ralph Williams II, my late nephew, Sean Negley Jr., and also to my late, our late friend, family friend, Lauren Madler. And also, I want to send a birthday wish out to my niece, Kristen Negley. It's her birthday. Happy birthday, Kristen. And so I want to send that out to you as well. All right. So there you are. All right. Smokin' Jim's wisdom. Go ahead, Smokin' Jim.
I tell you what, Ralph, I feel like I'm truly blessed. Over the last 20 years, I've been able to make a living doing nothing but writing about sports, talking about sports, interviewing people about sports, doing ring announcing and TV broadcasts on sports. And I tell you what, Ralph, the one, and I never turn down. I'm like you, Ralph. If somebody asks me to do their show or be a guest on their show, I feel an obligation to do it. And but one show that I was not excited about doing, I didn't think had a snowball's chance of it really even making it. And I didn't even know the guy who was going to direct the show. He wasn't even going to be a on-air personality. He was just going to be a producer of the show. Alan Levine, the talking machine. Somebody introduced me 15 years ago to Alan Levine, the talking machine, and he was going to produce a show, and I was going to be one of the co-hosts, and somebody dropped out, so he stepped in and became the host, and I tell you what, man, 14 years later, we have 1,000 shows that we did together. It's been a very successful run. You know, everybody knows Alan Levine, the talking machine now, and I tell you what, it was a show that basically seemed like it started in the basement of a TV studio that kept getting bigger and bigger and building, and now it's just been a tremendous run.
Yes.
And it went from me not wanting to do the show, but feeling the obligation of doing it because the guy that introduced Alan and I, who's no longer with the show, I was doing it as a favor for him. And look, we're at Fort. We will start our 15th season in October, and we've already got 1,000 shows under our belts. That's tremendous.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. And I want to congratulate Al Levine, the talking machine, and all you guys on Pittsburgh Sports Line. And I want to congratulate you for your 1,000th episode. Took 14 years, but you know what, though? You guys have really done a great job over the years of putting it on the map with Bethel Park TV and helping Bethel Park TV put them on the map. You're Al Levine, yourself, Chip Hayner, excuse me, and Nick Allison, Mike Brody. You guys have done a really, excuse me, you guys have really done a really good job of doing this, and I'm really, really pleased with the fact that your 1,000th episode is tonight. There's also a celebration party coming up sometime in July. Smokin' Jim, explain the celebration party. Go ahead.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's going to be free admission, free food. It's July 15th. It's also going to be Smokin' Jim's 15th annual birthday bash that same night. My birthday is July 17th. We're going to do it a little earlier as part of the celebration, but it's going to be at the community center in Bethel Park. Plenty of parking. It's going from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. The television show is going from 7 to 8. And from 8 to 9, we're going to try to interview as many people as we can that are there. With Alan, I'll be eating the food at that time. But looking forward to it. The station is very excited. They've never had a program at that station before that have the kind of success that Alan Levine has had at that station. In fact, when we began, they didn't know it was a weekly show. We're telling Dave Cable, who's the director, we said we want to do a weekly show. He looked at us and was like, where are you going to get the volunteers? And Alan says, people like to work with me, so we'll find volunteers. And sure enough, that's been true over the last 14 years.
Yeah, it's very sad that we had to take our show here off of PCTV. It's very sad that the things that went down with the politics involved in that. I would have loved to have seen us bring that station back as well, but things right now are not going in that direction. And I'm not going to I'm not going to go into it here on this program today because we got a lot of other things to talk about. But real quick, everybody, yesterday I went to go see an eye doctor. I found out I have 2 cataracts in my eyes. One is in my right and left eye. My right eye, I'm getting ready for surgery in August. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to have a consultation with the surgeon tomorrow down here in Ocean City. And in August, I'm going to go have my right eye taken care of. But the one thing that I did want to say was that I'm going to need some prayer here because it's not only my right eye, but also my left eye also has issues as well with cataracts. So that's why I've been having issues with eye problems. I was told by another doctor back in Pittsburgh that I was going to have, that all I had was dry eye, but that's not the case here. So I just want to let everyone know that as well. All right. We have to stand by for a minute here. I have to take a phone call. I'll be right back. All right, folks. I apologize. Sorry about the delay here. We're back on the air here. I had to take care of a personal matter on the phone here that couldn't wait, and unfortunately, someone didn't know that I do a podcast here. But anyway, I just want to let everyone know that as well. That I have cataracts in my eyes. So please pray for me. I appreciate it if you would do that, please. Thank you. All right, Smokin Jim Frazier. Let's talk a little bit today. Before we get started, we're going to talk a little bit today about Dave Parker. But first, I want to go into our studio sponsor, Mata Heating and Air Conditioning, 724-2010-500. Mata Heating and Air Conditioning. You know, up here in Western Pennsylvania, Smokin Jim, you pass it every day or every Tuesday. I got to take care of my handicap brethren up there. Keystone Coach Works. Call them today, 412-833-1900. If you need a wheelchair accessible van like I did, I went to Keystone Coach Works. They have plenty, and I'm talking plenty of vans for you to rent, or you can buy, or you can finance. Call Dawn today. Talk to Dawn. Tell Dawn Ralph Williams sent you, 412-833-1900. All right, Smokin Jim. Really sad situation this week. The death of Dave Parker. Your thoughts on Dave Parker, and I'll give you mine. Go ahead.
I'll tell you what, man, great football player in high school, running back in Cincinnati. Really wanted to play college football, but instead he chose to play baseball and never really was appreciated, man, for his talents, man. He was just a great player, one of the all-time greats. And, the one thing, he came out of high school, he was a catcher. And they moved him to outfield, after Roberto Clemente passed. So that was big shoes to fill. And then Dave Parker ended up being the first $1 million baseball player. So a lot of people in Pittsburgh was jealous about that. That's why they were throwing batteries and stuff like that at him. Very outspoken player, very confident player. Dave Parker, Roberto Clemente, and Bo Jackson, with Clemente being the best, had the best arms ever seen from the outfield in person. And I've never seen Willie Mays play in person, but Dave Parker could do it all in his younger years. He was a heck of a base runner. He was fast. But the Cobra, man, should have been in the Hall of Fame. I think you would agree with that, Ralph.
Absolutely. He should be in the Hall of Fame. That man was he had a great arm. Oh my gosh, he would get people from the outfield to home plate. He was my inspiration because when I played Little League Baseball, I played the outfield. I had a strong arm. I got people out at the plate at third base. Nobody moved when I got the ball. So and Dave Parker was in that situation, and he contributed very well, not only to Major League Baseball but also to the success of the Pittsburgh Pirates. And I tell you what, him and Willie Stargell, and a bunch of other guys, Phil Garner, I can name a whole bunch of people that helped that '79 World Series team. And it was just sad that he was looked at in a negative perspective when they had all the drug cocaine issues, the hearings that went through with that. and they called him Porker, threw batteries at him. I mean, it was just amazing, some of the negative stuff, but the positive aspects of Dave Parker were some of the better ones as well. And I'm going to say this, despite the fact everyone loves negativity, but you never look at the positive things of Dave Parker. This man was one great baseball player, and he should be in the Hall of Fame. And let me tell you something else too. I'm sorry to hear about his death. I'm sorry to hear that he was in a wheelchair like I am, and I felt bad for him. And it's too bad that I really didn't get to see him again before he died. But I never really seen him in person or had any interaction with the man. But I can tell you, he was, from what I could see, was a great baseball player. Smokin' Jim. You there, Smokin' Jim?
Yes, sir. I agree
right.
with everything you said, Booking Machine.
Oh, you got it, man. You got it. All right. Let's get started here. Smokin' Jim. Let's talk a little bit about this trade some more. The Minka trade with Jalen Ramsey. Rumors out there, and again, we're here to present some facts, but there's rumors as well that Minka wasn't getting along with the coaching staff or something. They wanted him to move around a little bit, and he wouldn't do anything. I heard those stories out there. I know he was a great player, good locker room kind of guy. I'm sad to see him go, but if we got a better, younger player in Jalen Ramsey, and a little less cheaper, $3 million is a lot of money in football terms. You can take that $3 million and apply it to TJ Watt, or go get another player, or do something with that extra $3 million that the Steelers are going to have. It seems like that they've been making some trades to bring in some veteran players, and it's not the standard for the Steelers. They usually like to go with their draft picks, but it looks like this year they're stockpiling veteran players this year. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, just real quick on Dave Parker, our good friend Claudio Wilsano is a good friend of Dave Parker. So, right. But anywho, listen, I just get tired of the stinking media here in Pittsburgh lying about players after they get traded. As long as you're a Pittsburgh Steeler, everything is great. I went down to the Dallas Cowboy minicamp. It was surprised that half the Steelers was down there visiting George Pickens, and right. One of them was Mika. And all you heard when George Pickens got released was the leaders in the locker room, Mika and TJ Watt and Hayward, was tired of George Pickens. Well, Mika was down there celebrating and partying with him when I was down there for the 2 days of minicamp. Hey, listen, Mika was a leader. He's a leader at Alabama. Hey, it's okay to get rid of a guy. You don't have to come out with lies.
Right. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Mika was equivalent to a team captain. He's a quiet kid.
Yes.
He's always been quiet. You don't have to be a raw guy. Now all of a sudden it was lack of communication back there.
I'm hearing that story too, Smokin' Jim. I heard he was the one that was causing the communication foul-ups on the field.
I mean, they just lie.
I heard that
they just
story
continue.
Too.
They just continue to lie. A month ago, I heard on the show that Patrick Quinn was having a hard time making calls because he was new to the defense, and everybody was saying that the Steelers should allow Mika to make all the calls at free safety. What's the difference between? So he just a month ago he was the smartest guy on their defense, and now it's lack of communication. He couldn't get the people in the right places. They just lie. The Steelers have always done that. They've always controlled the media, except for you and I.
Right, exactly.
We tell it like it is.
That's right.
And
that's right.
They control the media.
And I don't kiss their ass like everyone else does.
I've never seen a town, and I used to travel all over the country. I've never seen a media that have access to players that never say what players you're talking about. There's problems with this player. We'll say it. Put your name on it.
Right.
They've never, ever done that.
No.
The Steelers will leak something, and the media runs with it like it's the gospel. And I know it's a lie as soon as it comes out because they always do it, you know what I mean, when somebody gets traded away.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, there's always
yeah,
something negative, as I just said. Instead of with Dave
yeah,
Parker now, instead of looking at the negatives of Dave Parker, and we saw a lot of that over the years, Smoking Jim. We saw where they were throwing batteries at him, calling him Porker, and all that other stuff over the years. Okay, but
yeah,
now all of a sudden, like you said, the man gets traded. He's the worst guy in the whole world. Okay, oh, he was bad for communication or whatever. See, the media in this town, Smoking Jim, or in Pittsburgh, by the way, in Pittsburgh, like you said, has a bad habit of what they call producing things that aren't true. And there's a lot of good guys. Ray Fittipaldo is a great guy. There's a few other of them out there. Jerry Dulac. There's a few other of them out there that know the facts and bring it to us and everything else. But there are guys out there that just puts a smoke screen up of anything just to make their name look good, just to make themselves look good, and to make their company look good. I mean, it's really disgusting, Smoking Jim, and I think you'll agree with me on that.
I agree with you 100%.
Yep, exactly. So, those of you out there who are putting a negative spin on this, why don't you take a look at the positives of this? We got a good athlete in Jalen Ramsey. Ray Fittipaldo said we got a good tight end in Jonas Smith. This guy, can maybe move around the slot, maybe do a couple different things. I don't know. I don't know much about the guy. Okay. But, all right, here we are. And we got a draft pick for next year's draft to add to all the draft capital that we have now for next year's draft, which, of course, is going to be hosted in Pittsburgh if they can get their public safety up to speed. Okay. So, I'm not going to go into that. That's for another day. All right. But anyway, all right, next year it's in Pittsburgh, and I know there's some negativity to that too. Oh, the traffic. Oh, the hotels are going to be booked. Yeah, there's going to be hotels in a 300-mile radius that are going to be booked. Okay, Wheeling, West Virginia, as already said, their hotels for next year are all sold out. Weirton, all the hotels down there all sold out. Hershey, all sold out. Harrisburg, there's people everywhere that are going to have to go to Maryland, the upper part of Maryland there. All sold out already for next year for this draft. Okay. You're going to have to drive someplace. You're going to have to do something. Dave Parker, there was no negativity ever in Dave Parker. The man was a good, but all you out there, all you Pirate fans, all you Steeler fans, and everyone else out there make negatives out of everything. Look at what Kyle Dubas is doing right now. He's making some good trades, bringing in some young guys. Look at what he did in the draft. Okay. So, with the GM, we're going to find out where this Dan Muse goes as the head coach for the Penguins. Okay, let's wait and see what happens first. You guys got to start waiting and see. And I know you want championships out the yin yang because it's Pittsburgh. That's what you want. Pirates, look at Don Kelly right now. They just swept the Mets. Okay, I get it. I've called them names too. All right, and my prediction could happen. It just could happen. I think the Pirates might make 500 by the end of the season, and I would be satisfied with that as not only just as someone here that's on a media broadcaster, but also somebody who is also a not only a media broadcaster but a longtime fan of the Pirates over the many years. I just lost interest after Bob Nutting decided to turn it into a circus instead of a baseball team. So, but we'll find out what happens with the Pirates as well. All right, the Riverhounds aren't doing bad. The Riveters the Riveters, the girls' soccer team, they're a women's soccer team up there. They're going to the playoffs. They're in the championship game. So you know what? Stop the negativity. Let's see what positive things are coming out of some of this stuff with these teams. Smoking Jim, any thoughts on what I had to say?
Very well said. I couldn't agree with you more, Ralph. Definitely. You know what I mean? It's okay to critique, but when you're just being negative for the sake of being negative, and you made a great point about the Pirates. This is the best they've done in a 4-game span since 1925 when they won the World Series. And I tell you what, Ralph, I've always said, and the Pirates are living proof, if this was the World Series right now and they were playing this good, they'd be World Series champions. That's why we say the most important thing is to make the playoffs for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You can get hot. You know what I mean? It's when you get hot. There's been a lot of teams over the years where people say, I'm glad they didn't make the playoffs because nobody wanted to play them. They were probably the best team in football, but they didn't have a good enough record to make the playoffs. They got hot too late. They peaked too late. If you get hot, I seen that New York Giant team in 1991. I think they were old.
Yes.
Hofnagler was a quarterback.
Right.
Hofnagel.
Yes.
And,
I remember that. Yes.
And, they had Joe Morse running crazy. The defense, those guys got together and got healthy for the playoffs. And next thing you know, they're world champions. And that's all it takes. The Pittsburgh Steelers, their goal is to make sure you do your show naked.
You never know. We'll find out. I have two things I've said. Mike Tomlin will never win a Super Bowl again or go to one, and all for the rest of his career. As long as Mike Tomlin's a coach, I don't see the Steelers doing it. But that's my opinion, of course. And also, I will do all my shows naked if the Steelers go to the Super Bowl. They don't even have to win; they just have to go. They go to the Super Bowl. I'll admit I'm wrong, and I'll do all my shows naked. So there you go. All right, that's me. Okay, so. But anyway, let's move on here, Smokin' Jim. I think we've beat this up enough. Let's move on here. WNBA has announced yesterday that they are planning on expanding, and Pittsburgh is on that list. They're planning on going into some different cities. Some of them already have NBA teams, others don't. Do you think Pittsburgh has the fan base to want to support a WNBA team?
The only thing Pittsburgh will support is an NBA team.
Okay.
WNBA, CBA, CBI,
ABA, CBI, all that.
ABA, all that will fail in Pittsburgh.
WBA, whatever,
Only thing that will succeed is the NBA, and they keep dancing around that. They've never seemed to win the NBA, but the NBA team would take off here, but the WNBA, no.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because the reason I'm asking is they are on a list of expansion. They're planning on expanding into 3 cities next year, and Pittsburgh is on one of those lists. Or, well, I mean, not next year to start, but the plan is to start to execute it next year as to what they plan on doing with the WNBA. And, my thought process is Pittsburgh has had, like you said, the ABA and all these other teams, and they got the Steel City Yellow Jackets that don't draw much or whatever. But that kind of thing. They've done roller hockey. They've had 2 arena football teams. I can't. What they had a lacrosse team, the Bulls, and they've had all these types of teams over the years and never supported them. I mean, it was just terrible, and stuff like that. You had to have giveaways or something, or some Pittsburgh Steeler or Ben Roethlisberger to show up at one of those games with the arena team, which I can't remember their name off the top of my head. But anyway, Lynn Swan was the owner, and it didn't work out. That was back in 2010 or something like that. They had a team real easy. They were doing okay for a little while. They won, and then all of a sudden they switched coaches, and Mike Tomczak was the offensive coordinator, and it was just crazy. So, but anyway, Pittsburgh don't support those kind of teams. But if you think, and I probably could agree with you on that, I'm not sure is Pittsburgh hungry enough for an NBA team? Do they want an NBA team here? That's the question. Or in Pittsburgh, that's the question we have to figure out here, and that's an unanswered question right now until the NBA figures it out and the WNBA figures it out. That's going to be the interesting part there. All right. Smokin' Jim, Shedeur Sanders caught speeding 100 miles an hour, trying to get out of Cleveland. What are your thoughts on Shedeur Sanders getting pulled over by the police? And of course, you know what they did on social media, made a big issue out of this. And whatnot. I'm hearing stories he could be the first quarterback, but we don't know yet. Training camp is here. He could get hurt, like you said. You got that. You got. Excuse me. I'm not allowed to say this because it'll offend some Pitt fans, but I'm going to say Kenny Pickett the bum. Okay, All right, and I'll get all these emails from these Pitt fans. Oh, Pitt fan. You call Kane picking a bum? Yeah, he's a bum. All right, it's that simple. He's a bum. All right, and then they got a few other guys there that are quarterbacks that belong in the UFL, that kind of thing. Nothing against the UFL, of course, but that belong in the UFL. Cleveland's going to be Cleveland. What do you think about this Shedeur Sanders thing at this point?
Well, I think anybody with a sports car has went over 100 miles an hour before. I'm surprised he didn't do 150. I remember my dad one time we were down south. He was in his big Cadillac. I was just a kid, and he wanted to see if it could go 100 miles an hour on this, kind of, road that was untraveled. So Gale Sears is probably the most mature rookie in the history of the NFL, and George Halas made him give up his sports car because he got caught speeding. So he didn't want him to kill himself. He was too valuable. So that's not a big deal. Just don't do it again. Make sure you don't do it again. We're all going to make mistakes. He's doing good at mini camp. The players seem to like him, and he has an opportunity to maybe start at some point this year.
All right, I got a list here, and this is from sources across the web, of course. We're going to talk about broke players in the NFL. There's a lot of them, all right, but I'm going to give you a list of a few, and a couple of them I'm quite surprised at that are broke. I heard Warren Sapp is broke. He's now coaching with Sanders over there in Colorado. All right, so Deion Sanders. So some guys have are broke and others aren't. Some guys have banked their money, but let's take a look at this list here, and you're going to be surprised when I tell you this name, and I'm going to go with this name first because he's a Pittsburgh Steeler. You ready, Smokin' Jim?
Yes, sir.
Well, actually, there's two of them right off the top of my head that were really broke over, that have been broke over the years that are still currently around. Dermontti Dawson. I heard he got involved in some kind of real estate ventures that knocked him to the ground, and he was a broke player. Let's see here. Let's see what we got with him. But anyway, nope, that's not it. Okay, anyway, he's on this list of broke players. And then you have Bernie Kosar, Chris McAllister, Clinton Portis. Let's take a look at those guys, Smokin' Jim. What are your thoughts on these broke players in the NFL? You there, Smokin' Jim? Hello? Hope we didn't lose him. I think we lost Smokin' Jim there for a minute. All right. Let's see where we are here with him. Nope, he's still there. Smokin' Jim, are you there?
Hey, sorry about that, Ralph. Yeah, when you said Dermontti Dawson was very disappointing. Clinton Portis. The sad part is these guys, man, and I know they try to make investments, and that's what happened to Tony Dorsett as well. He made some investments in some real estate that turned up to be not a good location. But hey, man, your career's over. You can't remake that money. So once you're broke, you're broke. You're pretty much broke, man.
All right, here's another surprising. Well, it's I don't know if it's a surprising one, but Charlie Batch also I heard is broke. He had some bad real estate investments or did something. I don't know what happened to him, but he's broke as well. Current Steeler announcer. And here's Warren Sapp. He's on this list. He's broke as well. Andre Rison. And here's a surprising name. How about Dan Marino? How about Dan Marino being broke? Wow. Who would ever thought that? You know what I mean, Smokin' Jim? Dan Marino. Lawrence Taylor broke. Oh, my. Wow. Your thoughts on them guys?
Yeah, I was surprised to hear about Dan Marino, definitely. Thank you. Yeah, Dan Marino, man. Wow. He turned down the VP job. Thank you. You too. Sorry about that, bro. Yeah, he turned down the VP job with the Miami Dolphins at one time when he was still doing CBS Sports. So
Right.
yeah, I'm a little surprised to hear about old Danny Marino, man.
Yeah, and also you got Mark Bruner, Terrell Owens,
Mark
Luther,
Bruner?
Mark Bruner, but no, Mark Brunell. I'm sorry, Mark Brunell.
Oh,
Remember
Ray
him,
say,
the
woo.
backup quarterback
Yeah,
for
the quarterback. Yeah,
yeah, Mark
lefty, the
Brunell.
lefty. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Mark Bruner's with the Steelers. I believe he's working as a scout or something for the Steelers. I
Yeah,
believe.
that's how he got his son. That's how he got
He
his
got
son
son in.
drafted.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he got his son drafted. Yeah. Michael Vick, no surprise. Vince Young, no surprise. Raheem Ishmael, Travis Henry. I already mentioned Andre Rison, Duke McAllister. So that's the list I have here, and there's probably more, but I have to find them here. Let me see what else we got here. Here we go.
Bernie Kosar should be on that
Yeah,
list.
Bernie
Bernie is
Kosar's on that list. What the heck happened to him? I mean,
I don't know.
yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
amazing.
It was sad because he's really a smart guy. But I read something one time, Ralph, before, and they said 70% of all NFL players, 5 years after they retire, are broke and divorced.
Broken
So
divorce because they don't know how to handle their money. I guess they have these people that handle it, that thieve them, that that break, that do these kind of things, and steal from them. That's another story. And then they
yeah,
get involved in these crooked real estate investments. Okay. Remember Rocky Five when Paulie went and
yeah,
he just said
yeah,
for me to
yeah,
sign a tax form, and then he takes his money, tries to get some real estate, and can't flip it. You know,
yeah.
I've seen people.
Look at the one actor. What's the guy's name? That played in New Jack City. He owed $14 million in back taxes.
Yeah,
Um,
Wesley
a long
Snipes went to jail for
Wesley
tax.
Snipes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Wesley
Wesley
Snipes.
Snipes. That's
Yeah,
what I'm trying to
yeah. I
think
didn't know he was in New
of.
Jack City. I never saw that movie, but
Yeah,
anyway, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I like Wesley Snipes too. Yeah, he went to jail for that, and
yeah,
and so it's amazing how a lot of these guys just don't understand how to manage their money. And I hear now that some teams, I don't know if they all do it. I think the NFL's trying to get them all to do it. Have these players in classes or in in seminars, or having people come and talk to them and say, "Hey, look, watch what you do with your money." You know what I mean? And Chuck Noll used to say, "Don't make this your primary job or whatever. Find something else to do." And that's why a lot of the players back in when Chuck Noll was head coach or successful businessmen and things like that. So Mike Webster, I used to be his personal cab driver. He told me some stories about when he was broke. He slept in a Greyhound bus station. Had to beg for toilet
wow,
paper. I mean, and it
wow,
cost him his marriage. Him and his wife got a divorce. And at the time when I used to take him back and forth to see his doctors, he was on the phone with her, telling her, "I'll send you this money." And one of his sons was living with him, and things like that. He was living in a small, tiny apartment out in Moon, and
wow,
and he was telling me, lucky for him, he goes to autograph sessions, Comic Cons, things like that, and he was, selling autograph pictures. He says that right now that's how he was making his money. So but yeah, it's very sad to hear some of the stories. Joe Gillum, what did he do? Cash in his Super Bowl ring, took it to a pawn shop or something for drugs.
yeah, yeah,
Rocky Blair told me a couple stories because I'm friends with the Ventos. And when Al died and when his wife died, I ran into Rocky Blair, and he was telling me a couple stories. He had to pawn one of his rings to get money to pay his one of his ex-wives. So I mean,
wow.
things like that go on, and it does cost you those kind of things. Smoking Jim, any final thoughts before we wrap it up? Because we're going to get ready for 5 p.m. and Wrestle Talk.
No, another great show, man. The booking machine, booking Ray FIDEPALDO. He came through strong on the inside for us, man, as usual.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And tune in next Tuesday from 4 to 5 p.m. for the Sports Corner Show with me, Ralph Williams, and Smokin' Jim Frazier. Before we go, please remember Mata Heating and Air Conditioning, our studio sponsor, 724-2010-500. Mata Heating and Air Conditioning. For Smokin' Jim Frazier, I'm Ralph Williams. Until next week, we will be back coming up at 5 p.m. Please do not forget about the Wrestle Talk Show. We have the Night of Champions review and a whole lot more coming right up. Right. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Until next week, have yourself a great one. Please.